Jake Thompson has always considered himself a rational person. Working as an engineer in the small town of Pine Creek, Oregon, he never believed in the supernatural. But one night changed everything. It was late fall. Jake had been working late on an important project and decided to take a shortcut home through the redwood forest. The full moon was illuminating the winding road when his pickup suddenly stalled. Cursing, Jake got out of the truck. Suddenly, he heard a strange sound, something between a howl and a growl. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. A massive figure stepped out of the darkness. At first, Jake thought it was a bear, but the creature straightened up on its hind legs. In the moonlight, he saw that it was something like a wolf, but about the size of a man. Panic gripped Jake. He started running through the woods, not looking for the road. Behind him, he could hear heavy breathing and the cracking of branches. The monster was chasing him. Jake reached the old forester's hut. Desperately, he pulled the door open. Fortunately, it was unlocked. Rushing inside, he slammed the door shut and leaned back against it, breathing heavily. There was silence. Then, a dull knock on the door. And then another. The creature was trying to break in. Jake looked around for a weapon and saw an old rifle on the wall. He grabbed it, but it was unloaded. The door cracked open. A furry paw with huge claws pushed through the crack. Jake hit the paw with the butt of the gun, and a painful squeal was heard. Suddenly, the creature retreated. Jake heard the sound of a motor. Someone was coming up the road. Headlights illuminated the cabin. The werewolf howled and disappeared into the woods. A moment later, there was a knock at the door. "Agent Sarah Moore, Ranger Service," a woman's voice said. "Are you all right?" Jake opened the door with trembling hands. A slender woman in a ranger uniform stood before him. "You won't believe what just happened to me," Jake exhaled. Sarah listened carefully to his story. "Mr. Thompson, you're not the first person to see this creature," she said seriously. "We've been hunting it for a long time. It looks like you just met the Pine Creek werewolf." The following weeks changed Jake's life forever. He joined a secretive group of werewolf hunters led by Sarah. They tracked down the monster, studied its habits, and prepared for the final battle. But the werewolf turned out to be more cunning than they thought. One night he attacked their camp. In a terrible battle, 2 hunters were killed. Jake miraculously survived but suffered deep wounds from the monster's claws. Sarah helped Jake recover. Feelings began to develop between them. But Jake noticed that strange changes were happening to him. He became stronger, more sensitive to smells and sounds. And when the full moon came, Emily Carter has always loved the outdoors. Even after moving from the big city to the small town of Millwood, she couldn't resist the temptation to explore the surrounding woods. Her parents warned her against walking alone, especially after people started disappearing in the neighborhood. But 18-year-old Emily was confident in her safety. One sunny autumn day, she decided to take a new route. Taking a backpack with water and a snack, Emily headed deep into the forest. She enjoyed the rustling of the leaves under her feet and the sound of birds singing. A few hours later, Emily realized she was lost. The sun was already sinking, and she still couldn't find her way back. Panic began to grip her when she heard branches snapping nearby. "Who's there?" Emily called out in a trembling voice. A tall man in dirty clothes stepped out from behind the trees. His long hair was tousled and his eyes shone with a wild look. "Are you lost, little one?" He wheezed, smiling in a way that sent shivers down Emily's spine. I'm just looking for my way home," she replied, trying to stay calm. "Oh, I can show you the way," the man said, taking a step toward her. "My name is Jack. Do you know what else they call me? The Ogre." Emily froze in horror. She had heard of the Ogre, a bandit who was suspected of disappearing people in these woods, but everyone thought it was an urban legend. Without waiting for an answer, Emily started running. She could hear the ogre chasing her, his heavy breathing coming closer. The branches scratched her face and arms, but she didn't stop. Suddenly, Emily tripped over a root and fell. Before she could get up, the ogre grabbed her leg. "Not so fast, Yummy," he growled, pulling her toward him. Emily screamed and struggled, but the ogre was much stronger. He tied her hands and dragged her deeper into the forest. After a while, they reached an old hut. It was dark inside and stank of rot. The ogre threw Emily on the floor and began to light a fire in a large oven. "Do you know why they call me the ogre?" he asked, turning to her. "Because I really do eat people, and you will be my next meal." Emily tried to beg him, but the ogre just laughed. He began to prepare his terrible tools, telling her exactly how he was going to cook her. The hours dragged on endlessly. Emily lost hope of being rescued. She thought about her parents, how they would be looking for her, but she knew that no one would find her here. When night fell, the ogre began his horrific ritual. Emily screamed in pain and terror, but no one could hear her in the depths of the forest. The next morning, there was no trace of Emily Carter. The ogre was sitting by the dying fire, contentedly stroking his full belly. Search teams searched for Emily in the forest for a long time, but they never found her or the ogre's mysterious hut. The story of Emily's disappearance became another terrible legend of Millwood, and the ogre continued to hunt in the dark forests, waiting for his next victim. "Come on, Alex," Jason insisted. "This is your chance to finally have some fun and maybe meet someone." After much hesitation, Alex agreed. On Friday night, he put on his best shirt, poured too much cologne on himself, and nervously waited for Jason outside his house. When they arrived at twilight, the line was already stretching down the block. Alex felt his confidence begin to melt away. But Jason seemed to know the guard, and they were quickly inside. The club was packed. The music was so loud that Alex could barely hear himself think. Colored lights flashed in time with the bass, and the air was heavy with smoke and perfume. "I'll get us a drink," Jason shouted and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Alex alone. Alex shifted uncomfortably from foot to foot, not knowing what to do with himself. Suddenly, he noticed a girl sitting alone at a table in the corner. She was incredibly beautiful. Long black hair, pale skin that seemed to glow in the darkness of the club, and eyes the color of a stormy sky. Having gained courage, perhaps due to the adrenaline from the loud music, Alex approached her. "Hi," he said, trying to shout over the music. "I'm Alex. Can I sit down?" The girl slowly looked up at him and smiled. "Of course, Alex. I'm Lily." Her voice was soft and melodic, and Alex wondered how he could hear it over the noise of the club. They started talking, and Alex couldn't believe his luck. Lily was not only beautiful, but also smart and interesting. She told him about the places she had been, the books she had read, and Alex was fascinated. "Would you like to dance?" Lily asked after a few hours of conversation. Alex had never been a good dancer, but he couldn't say no to Lily. She moved with incredible grace on the dance floor, and Alex tried not to look too awkward. As they danced, Alex noticed that Lily's skin was cold to the touch, despite the heat in the club. But he was too caught up in her to pay it any mind. "It's too loud in here," Lily said as she leaned into his ear. "Shall we go outside for some fresh air?" Alex agreed, and they walked out the back door into a quiet alley. The night was cool, and Alex noticed that he had forgotten his jacket inside. "Are you cold?" Lily asked, coming closer. "A little bit," Alex replied, feeling his heart beat rapidly. Lily pressed herself against him, and Alex felt her cold body pressed against his. She looked into his eyes, and he saw something strange in them: hunger. "Alex," she whispered, "you are so beautiful, and you smell so good." Before Alex realized what was happening, Lily was leaning down to his neck. He felt a sharp pain as her teeth pierced his skin. Alex tried to push her away, but Lily was incredibly strong. He could feel the life draining out of him with every gulp of his blood. "Don't be afraid," Lily whispered, pulling away from his neck for a moment. "It'll be over soon. Or maybe you want to join me, to live forever." Alex couldn't speak. His vision was blurring and his body was weakening. He thought about his parents, about Jason, about all the things he still wanted to do in life. "No?" Lily asked, looking into his eyes. "That's too bad. You would have been a great companion." The last thing Alex saw before the world went black were Lily's blood-red eyes and her sharp, fanged smile. The next morning, club employees found Alex's body in an alley. The police wrote it off as another unsolved murder. Jason was devastated by the loss of his friend and for a long time could not forgive himself for leaving him alone in the club.